All good.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining us here for this pre-match press conference ahead of Bangladesh versus tomorrow in Abu Dhabi. We're joined by Bangladesh head coach Russell Domingo, who will be taking questions both here in Dubai currently and also on Zoom. So thanks very much for everyone joining us there. If you do have a question on Zoom, can I please ask you to show your hand on the platform? If you're selected to ask a question, can you then unmute yourself, ask your question, and then immediately mute yourself following that? So, without further ado, I think we will start with some questions here. So, thanks very much for joining us, Russell. Talk me through preparations for tomorrow's game.
Look, it's been pretty chilled. We'll have a practice this afternoon. We've had some good discussions after the last game against the West Indies. We've had two really narrow losses, I suppose, one to Sri Lanka and one to the West Indies. And obviously morale's been low after those particular losses, knowing that our chance in the World Cup probably over. But we've got a lot to play for tomorrow. So mentally the guys will be up for it. They know it's still an important phase of the competition. There's still 2 games to go, and guys are very determined to put in a good performance in the next 2 games.
Is it a task trying to pick up the players after the way in which you lost the last game in such dramatic fashion?
I think so. Not easy. Players know that they were, not just that game, but even the first game against Sri Lanka, where we were probably on top for most of the game and just came unstuck at the end through 1 or 2 crucial mistakes. So obviously the boys are gutted. It's been a tough couple of days for them. They know the expectation back home is high. They know the media interest is high, and they probably feel that they've let a few people down in terms of not crossing the line. So not an easy task, particularly in a competition like this, to get guys' morales up. But they're playing for their country tomorrow, and as soon as they cross that white line, they'll be giving 100% again.
And just looking at South Africa themselves, have you identified any areas that you can exploit ahead of tomorrow's game?
Look, they're playing well at the moment. Having worked with South Africa for a long time myself, we know that there's always a question mark regarding the way they play spin. Hopefully the conditions will help us a little bit tomorrow. So there are certain areas that we will look to exploit and look to focus on when we play against them. Whether I tell you about that now or not is I don't think it's the right thing to do, but we have had some good discussions and some good meetings this morning to go over some of our plans for tomorrow.
And just a word on Shakib Hasan, obviously a loss for you guys for the rest of the tournament. What are your thoughts on the impact of that?
Obviously a big loss for just balancing the side without him. When he's not there, you go in either a batsman light or a bowler light. You might have to play a part-time bowler. So it's obviously a big loss for the balance of the side, but also in terms of his leadership and the calmness that he brings around the environment in pressure situations, that aspect will be lost. But it does provide an opportunity for someone new to maybe make his first World Cup appearance tomorrow, and we've got to see that as a positive for whoever that young player is going to be tomorrow.
Excellent. Thanks very much. I think we're done with questions in the room, so we'll switch now over to Zoom. Rabi?
Yeah, thanks, Callum. We'll take the first question from Sikandar.
Hi, Russell. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mo. How are you?
Tomorrow is the next 2 games is very important for Bangladesh to have some results or some good memories. Are you ready to get a win in the next game?
Look, Mo, I think every single game we play to win, and we know there's obviously an obsession with winning and a disappointment when you don't win. I think our focus is very much on our process and how we got to go about trying to achieve that win. Of course, every single game they play, we're trying to win, but if you're just focusing on that, you maybe lose track of the things that you need to do well in order to get that win. So I think tomorrow's game in particular, we need to focus really hard on our particular skills, our processes, the disciplines you want to try and bring into the game. And if we do that, hopefully the result goes our way.
Masood.
Hi, Russell. There are 2 questions. Number 1, you are already out of the contention for semis, but what do you think, what can be achieved in the rest of the matches? And number two is there is a talk regarding Indian players being tired playing in the IPL. And do you think same case here for Mustafizur and Shakib?
Look, number one, I think Bangladesh have only won one game in the second phase of the T20 World Cup ever. So there's an opportunity to improve on that record. To try and win 2 games will be a big stepping stone for us. So there's a lot to play for in the next 2 games. Our focus is entirely on tomorrow before we get to the last game against Australia. We first need to try and open our account tomorrow. So our performance tomorrow is really important. And then the second thing regarding bubble fatigue, I can't comment on how Shakib and Mustafizur are feeling. That is a question they can probably answer. All I can say is that when you're losing, there will always be things that you can look at and point towards, and I don't think we're in a position to do that. We know we've made some mistakes at crucial stages, and we cannot shift the blame to anything else but to ourselves. So we've got to take responsibility for that. Bubble life has been hard. I know I've been home for 5 weeks this entire year, so it has been challenging, but that's the card we've been dealt with, and it's been the same for absolutely everybody.
Isam?
Hi, Coach.
Hi,
wanted to know how the team is. How do you plan to bounce back against South Africa? Because there were moments in the West Indies game when when we thought that Bangladesh would win the game against Sri Lanka as well, 4 for 79, chasing 172. So these small moments, how do you get the team back on track? I know that the World Cup is probably over for Bangladesh, but these moments probably gnaw at any lineup or any coach or any team.
Look, Isam, and I know the results haven't been great. We've played against Sri Lanka, we've played against the West Indies, we've played against England, all 3 past champions, all 3 tough sides. And in two of those games, we probably won top 4, 80 to 90% of those games. So we've got to look at the positives. We've got to look at the areas that we did really well. And there were a lot of good areas in those particular games where we had the West Indies under pressure, we had Sri Lanka under pressure, we were in good position with the bat. We didn't finish off well with the bat against the West Indies. We didn't finish off well with the ball against Sri Lanka. So we've got to focus really hard on the positive aspects in there, and then try and limit the mistakes we've made. We know we've made mistakes at crucial stages, but if you look at the age group in our side, I think we come into this World Cup with the youngest average age player. You think of guys like Naim, Afif, Shariful, Mahedi, they're all young players. So in big events like this, it's to be expected that under pressure some players are going to make mistakes, and as long as they're learning from those mistakes and go forward, gaining experience from these particular mistakes, it'll put us in good stead going forward. So very disappointed with the results, but in saying that, 2 of those 3 games were in really good positions and could easily have won both of those games, and we'd be sitting here cock-a-hoop this morning. Margins are small here, so we've focused really hard on the things we've done well, realized the things we haven't done well, and we need to try and improve on those things, and we've just got to keep moving forward.
Next question.
Another question. Given how the campaign has gone, there's so much talk outside and there's so much happening. How does someone like Shariful, and how does his performance get rated, and does it get lost in all the talk? I'm fortunate I'm not on social media. I don't read too much of the media. Most of my social media I used to be on was involved in fishing, not so much cricket. So I'm not too sure what's getting said out there. But like I've said, there have been so many good performances from some of the young boys. Shariful, Naim has come on so well. So there's so many positives to focus on. And when things are not going well, you sometimes forget to look at those positive aspects. And look, like I say, I think age-wise, we're the youngest side in the competition, and people maybe forget that because we've got 2 or 3 really experienced players, but the vast majority of the players are all pretty young. So whilst the result hasn't been great, I've been pretty proud of the way the boys have really fought hard in those tense encounters, and I'm sure that they've grown a lot from those experiences.
Shubham?
Yeah. Hi, Coach.
How are you?
Hi, Coach. So my question has been that when you select the team for a particular match, you go for the 1-to-1 matchup, or just regarding the form of the particular player, you select the 11?
Look, there's no right and there's no wrong in selection. And I think in terms of media and opinion, it's always easy to talk after the fact as to who's been selected. Form is important, particularly in this format. I think to carry players that are out of form can sometimes hurt you, especially if you're a batsman. If you're not in form, there's no time to find form in this particular format. So form, for me, is an important thing. Matchups, I know it's the big throwaway phase at this stage, but if you're left-hand batter and you're playing against an off-spinner, you've got to be good enough to play against that off-spinner. If you're if you're a left-hand batsman or a right-hand batsman playing against a left-arm spinner, you've got to be good enough to bowl to that guy, and that batsman's got to be good enough to play against that guy. So I know matchups is the big thing at the moment, but not something that we look at all that closely all the time. But there's obviously a place for it. But form for me is an important aspect.
Tawhid Qureshi, please go ahead with your question.
Thanks. Hi, Russell. Just going back to the last game against West Indies, were you satisfied for the reasons behind Pollard's retirement and then later re-entry?
To be honest, I don't even know what the reasons were, so it was the last thing on my mind, to be honest. I'm not sure if I can answer that or not, because I'm not sure what the reasons were for his retirement.
Okay, so there was no discussion between yourself and the team management with the match official?
No discussion.
Okay, fine. And then the next question was, just leading up to the tournament, I guess there's been lots of sort of talk about playing fearless cricket. But actually what seems to happen at sort of crucial moments during games, so the middle overs bowling against Sri Lanka and then that run chase against the West Indies, there seems to be quite conservative tactics that are actually deployed. Is that something that you need to review going forward?
Look, I think there's a whole host of things that can be reviewed going forward. And end of the day, decisions get made on the field of play, and there's no right, there's no wrong. Hindsight's always a great sight. I mean, end of the day, we needed 31 of 24 balls against the West Indies. If someone said to you at the start of the game, that's going to be the situation of the game, you'd have taken that hands down. Against Sri Lanka, we had them 70 for 4 chasing 170. If someone said to you at the start of the game, that's the situation, you would take that hands down. But it's just in those closing stages where maybe we made a few mistakes in terms of decision making, in terms of option taking, in terms of dealing with the pressures, and those are the things that we need to maybe evaluate and look at where we can get better in those particular situations. So for large periods of the game, like I said, we competed and probably were on top, but just let it slip at the crucial stage, which has come back and hurt us at the back end of the tournament.
Great, thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, we'll take the last 3 questions. Ekush.
Hi, Coach. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Ekush. How are you?
Litton struggled in opening, especially in power play, but he looked comfortable at middle of the innings in last match. He did well middle order in World Cup, ODI World Cup too. Do you think this could be an idea to play Litton as a middle order batsman?
Look, it's something that we've thought about for a period of time. It's obviously very difficult when you've got Shakib, you've got Musfiqur, you've got Riyad. There's younger Fif who's come in and done really well. So it can be a little bit cluttered there. Like I said earlier, hindsight's a great sight. Litton's had a fantastic inning, a couple of innings in 50 over cricket at the top of the order as well. If you ask Litton where his preferred position is to bat, he'd say at the top of the order. So these are discussions we have had previously. And look, he knows he's been under pressure, and maybe him moving down to number 3 or number 4 will just take him out of that pressure environment of being against the new ball. So that was a good positive for us to see and gives us a good option going forward. There's no doubt about that.
Masood, your question, please.
Coach, is Nurul Hasan fit for playing tomorrow? And the other question is, after the injury, there are several injury incidents. Bangladesh team is literally a 13-man squad now. Do it was a big mistake for not bringing more players with the team here?
Like I said, firstly, hindsight's always a great sight. Look, we came here with 2 spare batsmen. We came here with 2 spare fast bowlers. We've come here with a spare off spinner. We've got 2 wicket keepers in the group. And I still feel we've got enough cover for the last 2 games. Showan won't be fit tomorrow, but that's why we've got Tamim here, who's been the backup batsman. Shomo was here as a backup batsman. So those 2 batsmen will definitely be in the starting 11 tomorrow. So no, I don't think we needed to bring more backup players. I think we've covered all bases and we've got enough cover for the rest of the games going forward.
Last question, Sikandar.
Nurul Hasan.
Hi, Russell. Before coming here, you enjoyed a lot and achieved some results and got some respect from the board, media and spectators. Now you're facing the travel time and team are not doing well. What type of experience you are getting here?
No, it's been, we know the international sport results are massively important. I think if you look at the team's win rate over the last 12 months in T20 cricket, it's been fantastic. We've won some big series. And I think it'd be very harsh to judge the team based on 2 narrow losses against 2 prior World Cup champions. I think the team's made big strides going forward. There's some good young players that have come in for sure. We by no means the finished article in this particular format. There's a lot of room for improvement. But if you look at some of the young players that have stepped in, big performances against big teams, I think there's a lot to be positive about. I know there's a lot of negativity around the side at the moment. I know there's a lot of criticism being thrown towards certain players, certain aspects of the coaching staff, but I feel the team has progressed immensely from being ranked number 11 in the world maybe 8 months ago to being ranked number 6 is a big achievement for Bangladesh cricket. It's the highest position they've been in, but we know we're still a long way away from where we need to be, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's a process, and there's another World Cup in 1 year's time, and things have got to be put in place to make sure that come that World Cup, our side is in an even better position than we are at the moment.
I think we've come to the end of the press conference. Thank you everyone for joining in.
Thanks everyone for your time, and thanks Russell. That concludes the press conference for today. Thank you.
Thank you guys.